You're listening to Genuine Chit-Chat. This show is for real.
Hello there guys, and welcome to another episode of Genuine Chit-Chat. This week I'm joined by returning guest, Jarrod Speed. Now, if you haven't tuned in before, make sure you check out episode 104 of Genuine Chit-Chat, because that's when I last had Jarrod on the show, and he spoke about his two businesses, Muscle Ape as well as Limitless Float, and Limitless Float is with flotation tanks. So we speak about that in depth, about these pods that you go into, the salt water, and it closes, you're in darkness and you float. Some people meditate, some people use it to sleep and things. It's really good for your muscles and joints and things, and me and Megan have done it a couple of times. So if you want to find out more information about float tanks, isolation tanks, you know, they're called a variety of things. Joe Rogan talks about them quite a lot and things. If you want to hear more in-depth conversation about those things and my experience in those, make sure you check that episode out. But this week we are talking about Jarrod Speed's world record attempt, where he tried to climb up Mount Kilimanjaro to do an obstacle course at the summit, and he did it with a group of like 40 other people as well, and he just talks about his whole journey, and it's a really, really interesting journey. There's lots of lessons to be learned and things, and it was a really, really good conversation. So this release is part 1 of our chat. Part 2 will be out next week on this very feed, but if you can't wait that long and you want to support the show, go over to patreon.com/genuinechitchat. For as little as £1 a month, you can listen to the whole, full, unsplit 90-minute conversation with myself and Jarrod, and also you are supporting the show, and you get access to the audio feed, which has not only other unsplit episodes of Genuine Chit-Chat and things, but also me and Megan do an afterthought show at least once a week, where we talk about movies or series, and I've done a couple of Star Wars book reviews and comic reviews and things like that on there. So if you want to support the show, early access to stuff, and also hours and hours of additional content, check out the link in the description. So just before we get started, a couple of bullet points of this part. So Jarrod talks about why he decided to climb Mount Kilimanjaro and also go through that world record attempt. He also talks about some of the difficulties he went into as climbing the mountain, as well as some of the issues that other people who joined him had. And then part 1 kind of ends with Jarrod talking about what he wants from the future. And if you want to know about part 2, I will be back at the end of this conversation to talk about what's coming up in part 2, the rest of the year, and some of the other stuff I've got going on. But always make sure you check out the show notes, because I give plenty of information there, and please consider, rating on Spotify. You don't even need to write a review. You just give it an amount of stars you think it is, or you can review on Good Pods or Podcast Addict or Apple Podcasts, or you can share on social media, all those sorts of things. And obviously links to Jarrod's websites and social media is in the description as well. So if you could do all those things, that would be awesome, but I will not delay the conversation any further. Here is the conversation with Jarrod Speed about his climb up Mount Kilimanjaro, and I will be back at the end to give more information. Welcome to Genuine Chit-Chat, where we have honest conversations with interesting people. And I'm your host, Mike Burton. Here we are for another conversation with Jarrod Speed, and this is the first in-person conversation I've had with someone, aside from with Megan, since COVID, the illustrious C word. So it's lovely to have you here once again. Actually, yeah. I came to you last time. See you again. Yeah, I came to you last time, and we had some snoring pugs in the background. So This time we've got potentially a tortoise that's going to be making noises, but fingers crossed they don't wake up and things. But why don't you just remind people, I'll put links in the show notes and stuff, but why don't you just remind people of all the cool things you do. I'll tell them in the intro to check out the other podcasts we did, but the 2 other companies that you've got, or even more, and then we'll go into one of the reasons that we're chatting today.
Right, so my full-time job, I'm basically an armed counter-terrorist officer with the MOD, but I own 2 businesses outside of that. So one of them is Muscle Ape. So Muscle Ape is a personal training, boot camps, and then the other side of it is sports massage, which is something I'm qualified in. And then the other business I own is Limitless Float, which is a flotation centre, as it says, it's a self-described title. But it's, they're the 2 other things that I do outside of my main job, yeah.
It's funny because the 2 other businesses you've got, they're enough work to be, each one of them is almost enough to be its own job. Yeah. So you've got the 3 jobs, and you also go off and do a lot of other crazy things. So the most recent thing that you've done that was incredible was you attempted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, which was... Yeah. You wanted to do that because when we last spoke, I think you told me about it off air, but you tried to do a record attempt, but it didn't all go to plan.
It didn't, no.
So when you tell us, we'll get into the story of your journey and things, but when you tell us what the the record was for, and what kind of made you decide to do that?
So I hit the big 4.0 last year in September, but this was on the run up. So I thought to myself, I've got 3 wonderful daughters. I've got an amazing girlfriend. I've got a mortgage, a job. I've got all these things that like a proper 40-year-old it would have. And I just thought, I really want an adventure, but nothing where I can go traveling for a year. So I thought, right, I need something I can just get away and do something. And then as everyone's phone listens to him, it must have gone, we have just the thing for you, and pump this advert for world's highest OCR. So that's the company. So they're on Instagram, Facebook, and so the guys that run it, Dave and Rob, amazing guys, they were running this event, a world first to be, so you're ascending Kilimanjaro, which in itself, I can tell you now, is not easy, which you pretty much alluded to, that it was a failed attempt. But once you got to the top of Kilimanjaro, you dropped into the volcanic crater at the top, because Kilimanjaro is a dormant volcano. And you go 100 meters down into the crater of the volcano, and I wanted to be part of 42 people that were going to be Guinness World Record holders to do the highest obstacle course in the world. So by that I mean cargo net, balance beam, warped wall, like you see on Ninja Warrior. They had all these cool things lined up, monkey bars. And I wanted to go and do that. I thought, a Guinness World Record under my belt, a mountain climb, that's an adventure. And it was, at the time, 11 days away. I can fit that in. And yeah, it ended up being a lot more than that. Quarantine hotels. Yeah, it was, it's definitely an adventure.
Yeah.
Was amazing. I met the best people. Like, I'm in this WhatsApp group. Yeah. And the people in it, it's like a collection of, for me, it's like they're my own little celebrities.
Oh, wonderful.
They're all amazing people. Like, I don't think there's anyone on that trip where I thought, when you've got like a group of people, like there's the
one stinker.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And there was none. And that's amazing. Like to have that.
Almost never happens.
Yeah. It never happens.
Of mine and there's one in there as well.
But not that. It's like, it's amazing because they now pretty much all show up in my Insta and Facebook feeds. And I love liking their posts, not to just like their posts. They're all doing every single one of them is doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And feel quite privileged. If anything that I gained from that trip, that was probably the biggest takeaway, that I've got this amazing group of people that are very inspirational. A lot of them there's only a few of us that didn't get the Guinness World Record, but even those, it doesn't matter. All of them are just great. They're inspirational. And some of them they didn't even stop. Like after Kilimanjaro, some of them are doing the Spartan, the OCR.
Oh my Lord.
A Gogi, so not even the bog standard Spartan. They're doing the ultra races.
Oh my God.
You've got there's a girl on there called Yara on the trip, and she goes and does the Spartan Agogis, which is an invite only Spartan event, and they're crazy.
Yeah, I've heard bits and pieces about Spartan events, and
most of them were like, oh yeah, let's all meet in Dubai, and they were going and doing the Agogi in the middle of the desert. And watching these people do stuff, and it's like, wow, and these are people I got to share that with.
Yeah.
Amazing people, but yeah, unfortunately, a failed attempt on my behalf.
So if we start sort of with because I've never climbed Kilimanjaro. The only mountain I've ever climbed that isn't a hill is Snowdon. So I've climbed.
That's a mountain.
Yeah,
but exactly. It's a small mountain, but it's
it's definitely it's nothing like Mount Kilimanjaro, which I think is like 19,000 feet or something similar. And I climbed Snow. I didn't get to the top because when I went, it started to rain, and then the weather got so bad when we were at. We weren't far. We were at the sort of the last almost hurdle of it in a sense, and it was snowing so heavily you just couldn't see anything, and it was
but that can kill you.
Like, 100%.
And being in this country, like you think there's nowhere I can go. If I've got a jacket, good pair of boots, there's nowhere I can. That's wrong.
Oh, we had crampons. We were wrapped all the way up and things, and people were coming down, and we were saying, "Do you think we should go up?" And they were like, "Do not go up there." We were scared to come down, and there was only, I think a few hundred meters from them at the top to where we were, and they were like, even that walk there was too much, and that's so much smaller scale comparatively. I told you you'd be able to hear the tortoise.
Yeah, he was there, rattling around.
I don't know if people who are listening will be able to hear, but we'll see. So Mount Kilimanjaro, so it is in Tanzania.
Yep, Tanzania.
So when you walk us through generally, so you get on a plane, go to Tanzania after the isolation period and stuff. So you get out of that. What then happens? Because is there a Sherpa? Like what kind of happens once you are out of the isolation?
So the Sherpas themselves on Everest are indigenous people.
Okay. Yeah.
So Sherpas are exclusive to the Himalayas, or I believe just Everest maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
But with Kilimanjaro, you've got the porters. So these are the people, and that in themselves is a wonder to watch. So you've got these people. So you start off, and bear in mind the bottom of Kilimanjaro. So just talking about them, they've got their backpacks on their back, which is a good 15 kilos. They've then got cooking oil, water, your bags, which are weighing like a good 20 kilos. So imagine a 20 kilo plate. Some of these people are balancing that on their head.
Oh my Lord.
And they're running up, and I'm not even kidding, these guys are legging it up the mountain because they've got to go and set your camp up before you get there. So we've got people in the group that are world record holders, and there was a guy called Dave Ashley. He was doing 7 peaks, and he'd just come from Mount Elbrus in Russia. So you've got people like that are on the mountain, and they're going at a pace. I'm not catching up with them. There was 4 groups. So you had the cheetahs, the leopards, the lions, and then I was in the tembo, which was elephant group. And that was put it this way, on the last leg of the journey, they should have been the African giant snail, because that was like me. I was just, but anyway, I'll go into that in a bit. But so I'm sort of at the back, really confident, first day on the mountain, going up, and you've got these people just legging it past you, and you're like, how are they doing this? This is insane. And that was at the easy bit. Yeah. But they're still doing that to the top.
Oh my God.
And I mean, again, not to skip, but on the descent down, the people that were, because obviously there was obstacles at the very top of a mountain.
Were the obstacles already placed there, or did the porters?
Yeah, so the porters I think it was the biggest employment of porters ever done on that mountain.
Oh, wow.
So it was almost like a world first.
Yeah.
We had the first female porters ever to go into the volcanic crater. Again, I might have misspoke here. I don't think I have, though. I think they were the first female porters to go to the top and go in the crater. Yeah. So that was the first, which is amazing.
Of course.
And and then so they've set up the obstacles, and then I'm coming down and bit deflated, bit defeated. And it's hard enough walking down. These people, I'm not even kidding, I've got this video on my phone where they're sliding in, because it's all scree. So it's like basically gravel. Your feet sink into it and you're going up. But like these people are running down it.
Yeah, and if everyone hasn't ran in like sand, because I've not quite the same thing, but if you go to sand dunes in like anywhere in sand dunes, you try and run up a sand dune, that is an actual workout. That's like hard to do. Running up and down sand dunes, that's hard to do. And with that, like, the gravel's even heavier because there's like more rocks.
It's just like, so going up, I was just finding, again, again, I don't know if you want it. You're happy for me to flit around.
Flit around, be natural. Yeah.
So the last leg, so this is like the point where I've nearly had to quit at this point.
Yeah.
On every step you took, I'd say every 3 steps was the equivalent of 1, because you're constantly sliding down. So if you stop in that scree, you're sliding slowly back in till you're ankle deep in scree, and like in gravel, like really fine gravel. And then you're having to pull your feet out and power them out and do like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you're like, oh my God, stop, because you can't breathe. And then your feet are just sinking, but you're slowly sinking back from where you come from. And it's so defeating. Yeah. And so so physically very unprepared, so first day I was fine. It got to the second day. I have to speak right here. So again, it kind of blurs into one, but I can remember sort of, so we were heading to somewhere called the Lava Tower, the Branco camp, I'm sure it was day 2. We're heading towards that. And I didn't feel right. So it got to the point I felt sick, I felt slow. And I just thought, I don't feel myself here. It's really weird. So we had a choice. They said, right, some of you, if you can keep up this pace. So we walked for about 100 meters and I thought, I can't keep this pace. He said, if you want, we can go to Lava Tower. So loads of them said, yeah, I'll go. He said, or you can go straight to the camp. It's a slightly shorter route. And I just said, I don't know why. I just feel like I can't keep that pace. He said, we'll go to the camp's fine. And so I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And I felt weird. I felt sick and I was getting a headache, but only on the right hand side. So I had this headache round my eye, my right eye, the right side of my head, but like down the back of my neck, but only that side, not on the left. So I sort of thought to myself, I just feel really weird, feel headache. And then the porters go, right, we've got to stop for lunch now. You have to eat. And that's the thing on that mountain. You've food isn't food, it's fuel. That was what they were telling me. It was, it is because if you're not getting the calories in, then you're obviously burning off something like, I think it's like 3,000 or 4,000 calories a day you're burning off.
Yeah. Because
you're having to cope with the lack of oxygen and they're like 6 to 8 hour days, 6 hour days. So yeah, the right hand side of my head was hurting. I was feeling weird and it got to this point where I just completely slowed up. Like I just went from keeping a fairly good pace. Then suddenly, so we'd had an overnight at the camp, amazing views, freezing cold at night, this weird, didn't sleep amazing, but was quite tired after the first day.
And was it sweltering in the day, I assume, as well?
Well, it's weird because the sun's out and you're very aware it's hot, but you've got to keep layers on, like long sleeves on, gloves, because otherwise you're just going to burn basically because of the intensity of the sun.
Of course.
Then, but it's also cold.
Yeah.
So the sun's ready to burn you, but it's still cold. So, it's fine. Like I didn't find the weather, the weather didn't bother me at all out there, to be fair. I thought it was quite nice. But, yeah. And then this heading towards this Branco camp on the second day was just, I got into camp and I remember it being dark. And Dave, one of the organisers, was walking in the camp. So, come on, let's walk in. So he come out to collect me, sort of thing. So I'm at the back with the doctors and one of the porters. And as I get into the camp, I just projectile vomited.
Oh my god!
I'm talking like 10 feet. Just like ecstasy.
World record for longest puke.
Yeah, longest puke up a mountain. I doubt that. I mean, I imagine a lot of people get sick up there, but this went 10 feet. Everyone wants to hear his vomit stories. So, and then I just kept doing this for ages, but it was horrendous. And the pain in my head, and the doctors straight away come over and said, yeah, that's not from your stomach. That's because of your head. So we want to check you over. So he'd done the whole shining a torch in each of my eyes, but they kept paying attention to this right hand side. And he said, yeah, your pupils just fully dilated. It's like, it's not reacting to light. He said, where are you getting pain? I was like, yeah, getting down my neck. And they're having a chit chat and they said, we may have to take you down the mountain.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, no. You don't understand. Like, I've got a lot riding on this, to be honest. And they said, no. You're getting swelling on your brain.
Oh, shit.
I can't remember. There was a term, it was AMS, so it's Acute Mountain Sickness.
Oh, okay.
But that can develop and kill you, basically.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm devastated because I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I spoke to Dave and I said, look, I really don't want to go down. There must be something they can do.
Yeah.
He said, oh, it's okay. We're sorting something out. We're going to talk with them, but your safety, and that was their big thing. They're like, you can't be egotistical about this. If the doctors say you're going down, there's no choice. You're going down the next day.
Yeah.
So I'm devastated because I'm thinking I'm going to go home. Like I don't want to do that. Like, I've got to get to the top of, but at the same time, my head is killing me. So the doctors get out the medical bag and they're like, right, this one's for your head. So this is going to stop the swelling. I can't remember. This is something, it was in the film Everest. I forget. I should really know the name of the drugs I was getting.
It's okay.
So yeah, they said, we're going to give this for your head. That will stop the swelling. This one's for your stomach. This will stop you feeling sick. We're going to give you they give me 3 shots.
Yeah.
And they said, and you'll be fine. So I'm like, okay, brilliant. So it's a painkiller, an anti-sickness and an anti-swelling drug. And they said, hopefully that'll be okay. And I was like, oh God, I really hope so. And I did sleep a lot better that night.
Yeah.
Because I'm guessing because of the painkiller shot.
Yeah.
And I woke up in the morning and I felt like, oh, I'm brand new.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm back. And it was like, and then they said, so the doctor said, oh, we need to do a check. Okay. You any pain in your head? No. Pupils are fine. Great. And they said, how do you feel? And I said, I actually feel like day one, like I'm ready to go. And they're like, oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go. Like, I was like, yes. So I got all the old clear. So I'm thinking this is brilliant. So the first thing you do, they say, right, everyone, this is the Branco Wall. Brilliant. And you look up at this cliff face. Yeah. Right. We're going up that.
Oh, God.
And I thought this was just a walk. Like when you look at Kilimanjaro, I mean, if you look in detail, you'll see the Branco Wall. But when you see the sort of, I've seen videos of it, there's some light scrambling.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like full on. There were people like you're moving across some rock faces, which you're looking down and you think, if I fall here, I'm dead. And there was a couple of people there that were like, oh my God, this is like, there's a girl Emma there and she was like, oh my God, like this is frightening. And it's like, and I was loving it. I'm not weirdly frightened of, it wasn't that sort of climb where you're like, it's not like cliffhanger where you're doing an Alex Honnold and hanging on by your fingertips and, so it's like a little bit of light scrambling. I was really enjoying it, and then I got to the top, and you're talking 400 meters up.
Wow!
And I was like, oh my God, I'm knackered again, and I'm not. So I was looking back on reflection. For breakfast, you were having pancakes, like Shrove Tuesday style pancakes.
Yeah,
but they were stone cold.
Oh,
and you had like the Philippine national race team there. There was loads of people that had done this sort of stuff before, and they're filling them with peanut butter and jam and sprinkling sugar over the top. And I'm like, oh, there's lemon juice here and sugar. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, try it. And they're like, wow, this is, and I'm like, you not had this? Like,
I only found out recently, funnily enough, little tangent, that's a very British thing. Apparently, across the world, people just don't really have lemon juice and sugar. I saw like a little Ask Reddit thread about it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So it's bizarre.
Yeah, that's it. So I was saying, oh, try this. And they're like, oh, that sounds disgusting. I'm like, you're eating them cold. Like you've gone past that point. It's like, this is how you eat pancakes. And they're like, oh, actually, this is really good. So that was like my probably only useful thing I put contribution to the group is like, yeah, lemon and sugar on but they were stone cold pancakes. There was ginger tea, and like the thought of that just turns my stomach right now. And it's like, so you'd get woken up in the morning with washy. So that was your warm water to sort of clean keep you hygienic. Yeah. And then they were like green tea, ginger tea. And, when you're just like, oh, coffee and cream. They're not doing that. But like, I mean, you shouldn't be having coffee up there anyway, because it's caffeine, and then it's a diuretic anyway. But ginger tea was to stop sickness, and actually made me sick. Just like, oh God, the thought of it. And I could not eat. Yeah. And like, it was, instead of porridge, it was millet. And it was like it's like a really grainy version of porridge. It was not good. Like it's mountain food up there. I mean, again, this is all fuel. Yeah. But yeah, there's people that were obviously experienced, and they're like just scoops of peanut butter and this millet and mixing it round, and because they're just packing calories in to get the energy. I couldn't eat breakfast, and this from someone I can eat. Back in the day, Jarrod the buffet slayer. It's like I can eat, and I could not eat up there. Wow. So I think I burnt all my calories
on the wall
from breakfast just going up the wall.
And just quick, with the AMS, the Acute Mountain Sickness, I had to write it down. Do they know what caused that? Is that just something that happened?
Yeah, it's just where you go to altitude, your body can't get the oxygen in it needs. So, but at this point, we weren't even that high up, I guess. But it was just people's bodies react different. Yeah. I think. I mean, again, I might be misspeaking here. Victoria Pendleton, Olympic cyclist, she only got halfway up and got it, and had to come back down because her lungs work at 100% efficiency at sea level. Yeah. Take her up, 10,000 feet. Her lungs can't work anymore. Yeah. And there's all these crazy things like, people say like, actually, if you want to go up mountains, you should smoke 10 a day. I think that's bollocks personally. Yeah. Because it's like, you're almost like you're mistreating your lungs, and again, I
'cause
don't think that's a very scientific.
No, but it's like conditioning. It's like, as you kind of eloquently put, like if your lungs are perfect at sea level, then they're not going to be perfect when you elevate and you lose a lot of oxygen, because that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Is the air is thinner, basically.
I mean, you do acclimatise to that mountain. I mean, I guess like you hear of a lot of boxers and they go to Big Bear in California or Colorado, and they spend time at altitude. And then after I wanted to go out to Tanzania 3 days early, because I thought, well, if I go and acclimatise, you're not going to acclimatise in 3 days. It takes like at least 2 weeks, apparently.
Yeah.
So that wasn't going to happen. But yeah, no, I just was not acclimatised. I mean, we live at sea level here in Southampton. Yeah. Pretty much I live by the sea, so a river. So there's no elevator. I mean, probably 20 metres up where I live on that hill. But there's nothing really in this country you can do.
Because we've got the mountains, but you can't live up there. Like we were talking before recording about, like at the start of the recording of Snowdon or Scafell Pike or Ben Nevis, but them comparatively to,
Yeah, I mean, I can't. You can tell I'm not the mountaineer because I'm waffling now, but like it, yeah. I mean, I just wasn't acclimatised to the mountain at all. I just from there on, from day 2 going towards Branco camp, from there I just struggled the whole time.
So it was the back foot the whole time.
Yeah, and I was getting into camp last, and I was going really slow.
And you are a fit person, like you. Was this maybe this thing? Well, okay, you are fitter than most, even if like you may not be
fit for
mountaineering.
What? Yeah,
because
not fit for mountaineering.
Obviously, you have to be physically fit for your main job, but plus also your personal training stuff and you.
So I'm strong. Yeah. I'm very this is the thing. Like if you see some bloke walking around like with carpets under his arms, I don't think I look like that, by the way. Just like this sort of gym rat, as you would call it. Someone who's got like, they might be like your cardio fitness. I think my focus has changed. When I was 20, I just wanted to lift the biggest, heaviest things I could. Yeah, I wanted to look massive. Yeah. Like to me, that was fitness.
Yeah.
I can't help. Look, so I'm 6'1", but I weigh about 21 stone, so about 135. 140 kilos roughly. Like I can like lift heavy weights fairly easy. Yeah. I can also box and grapple quite well. So I'm that like, unfortunately I couldn't grapple my way or kick my way up the mountain. It might have been okay. But even then, like I can do it for a certain amount of time, and technique would carry me through those things better than anyone. Well, most people. But yeah, no, running rubbish. I'd done some walks on the run up to that, and I didn't think I'd have a problem. Like me and, so I've got a friend of mine, Tom, the ex-UFC fighter. He was doing a walk for charity, doing the Great South Downs. I think it was.
It's along the coast and things.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think how far it was. There was like a 50 miles or 60 miles, or you could do 100 miles, and he did that. And so we went out and done a couple of night walks, a few night walks on the run up to this, thinking just getting used to having a head torch on your head, because that's a weird thing, having a head torch on and using sticks. So it's using poles, getting used to my boots, just stuff like that. So we done a few of them, and we on the first one we went for quite a while, and we did like 7 or 8 miles or whatever it was, and I sort of feel good, but it's all at sea level, and honestly, that just the altitude stuff that. And if you can prepare for it, obviously you're going up a mountain. And in my head, like I was, again, probably ill prepared, because I knew, when you were talking to people and saying, "Oh, I'm going up Kilimanjaro," people go, "Oh, I've done that," or "Oh, I know my daughter's done that," or so. And then, you'll find it easy. Yeah, no, they've done that easy. And a couple of people like, yeah, I didn't really do any training for it. And in your head, you're like, it's building your confidence up. Yeah. Going, oh, well, if they didn't train for it, but then and again, that is something I regret. I wish I'd have done a lot more walking. I wish I'd have gone to the mountains and gone up, used to walking up inclines. And yeah, I mean, again, hindsight's a great thing, but yeah, from day 2, I struggled. And
how many days were you then total, sorry?
Let me get this right. So it was 5 days to the summit, and then it was another day down. So it's 6 days total.
Okay, right.
So yeah, from day 2 to the summit night, I just struggled completely, and it was hellish. And I think there was a mental aspect from it. I kept thinking, think of your girls at home, think of your girlfriend, think of your personal training crowd, think of your clients that you train, think of all the people that have, because I'd done a lot of like fundraising for the event.
Yeah.
And I thought, you're going to let all these people down. And I've got a thing that I don't like, failing at stuff anyway. Oh, well, everyone's got that really, haven't they? No one purposely
you've
goes
got a proper
out.
drive. I mean, you are, you've got your 3 things going on as well and all this sort of other stuff.
And
So you are especially a driven individual.
Yeah. And to me, I just thought, if you don't do this, you're going to, one, look stupid. And I didn't want to let anyone down. That was the thing. And I know it's one of those things people go, and that pat on the head, oh, you tried your best. And it wasn't good enough. I just thought, right, just come on, just keep walking. All you got to do is put one foot in front of the other. It's hard. And then you think of all the people that are there and they're doing it for their own reasons. And I thought, come on, just push yourself. And that's what I did. I just kept pushing myself every day. But I would walk into the camp, always last. People already sat down and maybe eating their dinner in the food tent. And I'm getting there and I'm just slumping to the chair. And people are like, you made it, great. And it's like, like thinking, just need to get another day over with, if I can keep doing this consistently. And it got to that last night. So you get to base camp and then you're going to do the summit. So that starts. So we got up at midnight and they were like, right, they're adamant. We're going to set off at 1 a.m. We're going to summit and you're doing it and it's freezing cold. Like the amount of layers you have to wear for that night. We're going to summit. You've got to be at the lip of the volcanic crater by 8 a.m. to descend down. Right. That's the last train down. And, I didn't. So I think I stopped my summit attempt at 10:20 in the morning. So 2 hours, 20 minutes too late. And I think again, was just pissing in the wind with this, walking up the screed and thinking, just keep going. And the guides will always lie to you. Very convincingly. How far? Just 5 minutes. And you're like, okay. And I could see, like, again, this isn't like a straight, because I was 20 meters away from the summit. So technically the head guide Musa was like, you did summit. And I said to him, like, 'cause he said, don't worry, I'll make sure you get a certificate. And I'm like, I don't want a certificate. I've not got to even Stellar Point, which is the top of the mountain, but you've got to walk around the rim of the volcano and ascend just a tiny bit more. But once you get to that lip, it's like a walk to get to Huru Peak, which is the true summit top of the mountain. And Musa said, you have summited. And it was 20 meters in elevation down. But to me, that's not, unless you're at the top, like you've not reached that point. And I just, and it was big for me, like so close, but really so far. Like even though it's 20 more meters, it wasn't like people go, what was 20 more? You couldn't go up 20 meters. It's like, no, it was another 40 minutes past that. Yeah. Because you're sort of going up and down and across and round and up. Yeah. It's not like some
it's not 20
steps.
meters. It's not
20 meters of steps that I can just plod up. Exactly. It was another 40 minutes. And I saw Cheyenne and Emily. So they were coming back down. So they were part of our group. And I'm like, oh my God, you're still going, as if to say, like, and they'd already been in the crater and done their record attempt and they're now coming down.
Right, I see.
And I said, oh yeah, I'm still going. And I said, look, be honest, how far is it? Because I know the porter's talking shit. But no, he was, and I said, how far is it? And they said 40 minutes, an hour. And that is it. I just, inside the snap, I'm just like, I can't go on. Then my guide was then going, come on, we need to go. And one of the doctors was there. And anyway, I took a piss and it was like probably one shade of less dark than Guinness. It was,
oh my God.
I'd run out of water at this point.
Right.
My kidneys were killing me. My head was thumping. I'm like, everything's just like everything I want to be not right was gone. So I'm just, and they're like, and my guide's like, he was then giving me some of his water, but then he's got this like flask of Red Bull, like syrup, like watered down Red Bull mix. And he's like, oh, have some of this. And I'm like, oh, I can't drink that. It's like, no, that's something I probably don't need. And he's just like, you've run out of water now. And then in the end, they basically convinced me and said, look, people die up here for less, like that's it, it's done. And there was just, I had no more. My legs they weren't going to work anymore. There was just nothing. And I was just, that was it. I had to call it a day. And So I took my picture with my banner with my sponsors on.
Yeah.
Recorded a message because my big thing, like, even if I didn't get the record attempt, it was my daughter's 13th birthday while I was away. Wanted to record a birthday message going, hey, I'm at the top of the mountain. Happy birthday. I had on me some pictures that my 3 and 4 year old had drawn me of Daddy up the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
Wanted to take pictures and go, look, Daddy's at the top where you drew him. And I think for me, that was now, I knew that at the time. I think I walked down the mountain a bit, and that was the thing that cut me up the most. Is I'm meant to be the example.
Yeah.
And I'm not now. And I gave it a good crack, but it's like patting a kid on the head for coming 7th at sports day and going, well done you, and I know some people are, you're beating yourself up a bit about it, but if I'd have just trained that bit more, if I'd have done all these hindsight things or things that I should have just done more, gone in over prepared, and I just didn't. And that's the big lessons I've now taken away from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm in many ways, I wish I had done it, obviously.
Yeah.
But the lessons I've learned are good ones.
Yeah.
But it's a very expensive and time consuming and mental and physical drag on me that's taken it. But and it's sort of made me shift a lot of focus on things that I need to do this better and that better. And
out of interest, I hope this question isn't going to feel like I'm twisting the knife, but were you the only person who didn't make it, or were there other people?
No, so there was...
she said there was like 42 people or so?
42 people. I believe only Dan from Florida and Phil, who's a UK guy.
Yeah.
It was me, Phil, and Dan didn't get to Uhuru Peak.
Right.
So I believe... Dan had turned around, I can't remember if he went down before me, but this guy's nose was bleeding.
Oh my God.
He was, fucked. He needed to get down.
Yeah.
And then Phil, bless him, was being carried down by porters, and it turned out, bear in mind, your oxygen, if you were below 94% saturation, they put the old pulsometer on your fingers, see the ambulance crews do it?
Yeah.
Anything below 94 would be a concern.
Yeah.
They'd probably put low flow oxygen on you. Anything below that, you're probably going to go to hospital. Phil was on 20%.
Oh my God.
Had got up there, so he technically should have been dead.
Jeez. And is he okay now?
Yeah, he's fine. Yeah, he's fine.
That's good.
I met him at the award, so he did make it down. But he got rushed down. Yeah, and it wasn't the breathing wasn't a problem. It wasn't like I can't bring the oxygen in. It was just, like I said, it was just my body had just given up at this point. So physically just done. And then I think hearing Emily and Cheyenne go, you got an hour more. I thought, oh my God, there's not. I thought it was 10 minutes away. To at least claim stellar point, and then to go around to the peak maybe, but it just didn't happen. So. Yeah, so there's 3 of us that didn't make Uhuru Peak, but then there was quite a few more of us that didn't get the record attempt. So you got these lovely American girls who were on the trip, Amy and Bethany. So they're called the Summit Sisters.
Oh, okay.
So Bethany and Amy went to Uhuru Peak, but didn't get in the crate to do their record attempt.
Right, I see.
Yeah, and then it was... I'm really trying to rack my brain because we were at an awards thing in November for people to get their Guinness World Records.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was us 4. I don't know if there's another one. It might have just been us 4 that didn't, and Dan, but obviously he wasn't there, he was in Florida, but I'm sure it was just us that didn't get in the crater to do. Everyone else, I think, made it to the crater.
Right.
So you're talking probably, 38 people did.
Yeah.
Get that. So,
and did they? Did any of them who did the obstacle course, were they all fine afterwards? Or?
No. So there's a guy. You have to look him up, Jason Floyd, and he's absolute dreamboat of a boy.
Yeah.
He looks like he won't mind me saying this, but he does look like a pound shop Zac Efron. Dreamy.
To be fair, a pound shop Zac Efron is probably still 20 times more attractive than I am.
Yeah. Than any of us.
Zac Efron's like Megan's number one crush.
Can hope to be.
Yeah. Exactly.
He had to be carried down. This guy is does modelling.
Yeah.
He runs. He's like a podium finisher on these OCR races.
Right.
he's like, he's got, you know, a very big following because of his fitness, like, and obviously his dreaminess. But, I'm joking. I do a lot of, love for Jason, but, he had to be carried down into the crater and he was a mess. I mean, this is a guy who's ultra fit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it affected, you know, I think some people were tired. There's some people completely acclimatized. Like, for example, on this trip was, like I said, you had this guy, Dave, who's now in he's down from the mountain now. He went to Antarctica. Oh, wow. And climbed, oh God, I'm such a mountain illiterate, but he climbed the highest peak in Antarctica.
I didn't even know there were peaks in Antarctica.
Yeah, like most people, I mean, to get out there itself is some crazy trip
it's weeks and weeks on a boat, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. They went. I think did he?
Megan's got a postcard from Antarctica because one of her friends has travelled around the world, right? And so she's got one postcard from there, and he said it took him weeks on a boat to get there, and it costs, I think, tens of thousands of pounds to do it. This. So, and again, this is his incredible story. This guy Dave is a living kidney donor. Okay. So he donated a kidney to a friend. Yeah, so he got one as well. One kidney, and like he's so again like. And he's climbing all these peaks in the world, and he'd been to Elbrus in Russia, and he said, "Oh, that's good," because I'll be in the same time zone for Tanzania, so that worked out great. And so he's flown from there, then come down, gone up Kilimanjaro, done that, got his Guinness World Record, and then I guess he had a little break, and then he went to Antarctica, climbed the peak there, and then just on his way back, you know, went to Argentina and climbed. Begins with an A. I've been following it, and he's climbed that up there, and he's in the death zone. Like that's, you know, this is a really high peak, and he's just climbing mountains all the time. This guy, but he's called Adventure Kidney. Yeah, but just that's worth going to look at what he's doing because he's an incredible guy. And again, this was one of many people I'm up there with, and you had Christina, who again is world champion runner. She's got the fastest time from the Mweka Gate at the bottom, which is what you go down to from Millennium Base Camp. You go there and you're descended. Yeah. You then get on buses and go. She ran from there to the top in 6 hours and 52 minutes. And sorry, is this the place where it took you 5 days to get up?
Yes. So she did that in 6 hours and 52 minutes.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's what I can't say. But she's got the fastest recorded time of getting to the top. And again, like this is part of my little WhatsApp group now. Yeah. So like I said, I'm like a little hanger on to the celebrities.
This makes it sound bad, but I always like this is how I feel for certain people sometimes, where it's almost like you're incredibly fit and that you've achieved so many great things, but you're almost the mutt of the group because the rest completely. Of them are so top tier.
They're all such lovely people. There's no ego of any of them. They're all like want to talk to you. They all want to. They're really interested in you, but they're really interested themselves. So you're bouncing off these people, and just like I said, just all of them are incredible. But then, so to top that off, so this is again the fitness level you had. So when they got to the top, that then become part of not the world's highest obstacle, but also the altitude world racing championships. So people now have run from the crater at the top down to the base camp. Right. That's a timed event now. So these people running, 5 or 7K back to base camp. Then they're running from there to Millennium Base Camp. That's another leg of the race. And then the next day they're running from Millennium Base Camp to Mweka Gate as part of these Altitude World Championships. So you got people running, sprinting down the mountain.
Oh my Lord.
So Christina, one of them people there, had run up the mountain, but she'd also was now part of the race running down. And you had the Filipino team who were like really great. Like, they just incredible.
Well, from the point where, and I'll get you, I saw on social media, and I'll link to all that because people need to see these things. And I'll get you to send me a photo or two, and I'll pop that on the YouTube thumbnail and when I do the snippet and stuff. But like when you're like, okay, I need to go back essentially. So from you going back, did your body find the reserve, or was that a proper struggle from there?
Luckily, gravity helps you down, but I assume you're still sinking.
Okay, right.
So there was still, and then my guide saying, right, tip your toes up and just go down with your heels. Well, try running along anything with just your heels. I mean, it's just nuts. And luckily I had my poles, because if I didn't have had them, the amount of times I'd have just tumbled down the hill sort of thing, or slipped or whatever. And it's just mad. So now this is all going downhill. So this is thump, thump, thump on the knees.
Yeah.
Constantly, because like I said, I'm not light.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like 21 stone, thumping my way down. And it's just, I got back to the camp and everyone's like, oh, how'd you get on? I'm like, I didn't get to top. So you're sort of getting the old sympathy. Oh, that's a shame. And and then everyone set off running. They're like, come on, we got to go. So I was one of the last people to then set off to go down to Millennium Camp. And I'm with my guide. And we lost, just because we're now going downhill. But the further I go down, I'm actually coming a little bit back to life. But I'm still just on this autopilot, like just trudging along. Because you can't, if you stop, like it's not.
Yeah.
We'll wait for a bus, or hopefully someone will give me a lift. And they keep pointing to, there's these, it's a mix of a wheelbarrow and a supermarket trolley. So it's like a supermarket trolley, like a long cage. Yeah. Like you get at B&Q. It's like a wheelbarrow with the mesh.
Yeah.
And they're like, we can always run you down in one of them. And I'm like, no, I'd rather be dead. Like, there's no way you're wheeling me down in these but people do. They get run down in the mountain, because obviously if people are really sick, they've got to get down. And these porters will quite happily run. Yeah. And my porter kept going, do you want to get in that? And I'm like, well, only if I can jump out right at the end. He went, no. Like, I was like, no, it's all right. And so, and it was that realisation coming down to Millennium Camp that I didn't achieve what I'd set out to do. And in my head, I'm like, what am I going to tell people? Because obviously I've got a couple of days now. So I've got that day and then the next day. So like the next day afternoon, I'm going to be telling people didn't do it. So I'm like sort of dealing with that, and people are in the tent and they're elated because they're going to have 2 Guinness World Records under their belt. They've climbed a mountain and I didn't do it. So they're all over the moon, and like, they're just, I mean, they must have felt amazing. Must have been great. And I'm like there sort of like, oh God, didn't do it. And thinking of all those things, I've got people to tell I couldn't do it. And
yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, obviously it's a shame, but I think in some ways it's probably good. I know it doesn't sound good, but like if you had have either pushed yourself or maybe say, this is me trying to be optimistic, but in a sense of like, say you did do the training and you really managed to do altitude training, all that sort of stuff. You pushed yourself. Maybe you got there the 3 days early and somehow that did help. If you'd have got to that obstacle course and pushed yourself at the obstacle course and gone too far, you could have ended up like Dave or Phil, or even had some sort of horrible other thing potentially happen, which I suppose it's not what you want to hear when you've not succeeded in something you've set out to do. But I suppose the silver lining is at least something really bad didn't happen. You didn't force yourself to go up there and then like collapse at the top or something.
I mean, luckily coming down, I stopped, and I had to stop because, and this is, I'm probably halfway back to the base camp.
Yeah.
My legs were just going. My kidneys were like literally just, one of them felt like I just had the biggest kidney punches going.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, like I can't, and I'm just like, and guides were coming by, and my guide was going, have you got any water? Have you got any water? And they're like, no. And then luckily the Summit sisters, Amy and Bethany, come around the corner. They're like, hey, like, and I'm like, hey, and they're like, oh, like, oh, and I'm like, oh, I didn't make it. I'm like, and the first thing I was like, have you got any water? You got any water? And they're like, Amy's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, can I have some? And then she's like, yeah. So she's like, yeah, drink as much as you want. So I'm like, as I'm drinking this, I can like feel the pain in my kidneys going.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, like, as I'm drinking this water, and I'm like, and then it's again, like, I had a bit of an emotional moment because they were like, oh, you did great. And then I sort of physically said it out loud where I went, all I wanted to do was film a video for my daughter. Yeah. And then and that really, like, when I said it out loud, I was like, oh my God, like, and that was really when the failure had hit. I mean, bear in mind, you don't have to worry about talking to it. I have made my peace, and even for a Secret Santa, someone got me a book of how to climb Kilimanjaro.
Oh my God.
Oh, bastards. Yeah.
Deep cuts there.
Yeah, no, but if you know my family, you got to be able to take that sort of ribbon.
My family are the exact same.
Brutal.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think you and I are in the similar boat where it's like trying to actually offend me apart from insulting someone I care about or something, but actually, if you were trying to offend me, you can cough as loud as you want.
Sorry, it's not COVID related, I promise.
It's if you tried to offend me, you could insult any part of me. I was bullied a bit when I was a kid, and then my brothers are 17 and 20 years older than me, so they were giving me shit my entire life.
Yeah.
I've got a step brother, and he's a couple of years older than me. He gives me shit for everything we give it. So it's like, I understand that level of sort of banter, and I can take it as well. And I know for an absolute fact, if that happened with me, that is exactly what I do. One of my mates literally constantly, whenever I talk about the podcast, and, I've been in a few podcast chats with really cool and spoken to some cool people, and he still, to this day, been in it for over 4.5 years, he still says, yeah, but only mums still listen to your podcast. And I was like, I don't think any mums have ever listened to my podcast. My own mum doesn't listen. And he's like, yeah, no one listens to your podcast. That's just your mum going on it and refreshing, making loads of fake accounts. And there's that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that, I'm glad that, obviously, with these sort of scenarios, you can laugh. Obviously, it is a disappointment in that regard. But I suppose now that you're on the other side, although there is the element that you didn't succeed, you've obviously met all these amazing people, and you did climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, I mean, look. When I look at, it's quite funny because you can look at these like maps, and you can when you think of the meter, like on some of the maps, well, if they're small enough on my phone, it's like a pixel of me not climbing it, it's such a small distance. So, people are like, yeah, but if you think about it as a whole, you have climbed that mountain. You just didn't stand at the very top, but you were at the top of the mountain. Yeah, that's true. But again, I hate people that try and... No, I don't, sorry.
You can say what you want.
People, no, I don't hate people that... But, I don't like saying to people, there's encouragement going, look, you did really well, but you didn't do it. That's more realistic than going, you did do it. You did. It's like, no, I really didn't, because I know if I'd have stood at the top, it would have been a lot more of an achievement. And I know why people do it, because they're like, oh, come on, you'd cheer up sort of thing. I've made my peace of it. It's fine. I didn't do it. And like I said, I think if I hadn't have done that, maybe I wouldn't be as motivated now to do the things I'm little things that I've got in the pipeline. Maybe I wouldn't have, or maybe I'd have done it and gone, well, at least I'd done that. I don't have to ever do anything like that again. Next adventure, I think it's given me a focus. So it's kind of to do with Muscle Ape. I've created a group called the Mud Apes, and the Mud Apes is going to be an obstacle course racing team. Yeah. Oh, so cool. We're going to Tough Mud. Like this year, we're going to Rat Race. We're going to the Nuts Challenge. We're going to Tough Mudder. We're going to Spartan. We're going to Wolf Run, Nuclear Race. So we've got 6 races planned. Nice. As that develops, that is something that's going to be more, right, there's a Spartan event in Iceland, or there's a run. There was a race that I saw was going to be in Croatia, Rat Race, do races across frozen lakes in Mongolia. Now, obviously not yet, but I want to go and take that team to do some of these things. So it's like my little group of adventurers. Yeah. And, and then I want to eventually say, right, the end game for it might be that, right, we're going to go to Kilimanjaro. Obviously not to get the Guinness World Record, that's been and gone. Yeah. That's passed me by. And again, I made my peace with that, and I'm really happy the people that got it. Yeah. To be part of that was amazing. Just didn't get mine. That's fine. But I want to go back to that mountain, and something I realised that even if you were to get to the top really easy, you never, people were encouraging me by going, go and smash that mountain. No, you're inconsequential to that mountain being there. Yeah. You're a visitor. Yeah. You're not going to stand at the top forever of it.
Compared to it. Even then.
You're nothing. You're that mountain's going to be there till the earth blows up.
You could spend your life with a pickaxe trying to take down the mountain, and you would die, and the mountain wouldn't notice.
Yeah, it wouldn't. You're just so insignificant to that mountain being there. So you are just passing by. You're a visitor. And like I said, that until the sun explodes and this planet goes, that mountain's going to be there forever. Yeah. So you visiting it and people saying, look, you don't smash it. You visit, you go. And... I want to go back and be another visitor, but I want to go to the top this time. Yeah. So when that'll be, I don't know. Probably after the long time I've spent away this time. Yeah. Not going to be too soon, but maybe 2025, I'd like to build up to that. There's a few other mountains I want to go and do, like Tublak in Morocco in the Atlas Mountains, and I want to go and do Mount Fuji in Japan but all of these little mountain trips will fit in nicely with family holidays to these countries. So, So because that was another big takeaway was I've got 2 very young children at home, a 13-year-old whose birthday I missed to go and do this. And that again made it more bitter for me that I couldn't have said, well, you know, that when time was away, at least I'd done this.
Yeah.
But, the big thing with that was...
And that's the end of part 1. Thanks as always for tuning in, guys. As I said in the intro, part 2 will be out next week, but if you can't wait that long and if you want to contribute to the show, please go over to patreon.com/genuine Chit-Chat, where you get the full unsplit episode of this, as well as loads of episodes of Afterthoughts. There's like hours and hours of additional content on there, as well as lots of other bonus things as well. So if you could do that, it would mean the absolute world to me. Otherwise, you can rate and review on like Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, those sort of places, or share with your friends. Any of those things would be incredibly appreciated. So what have we got coming up in part 2? So obviously after this conversation you found out that Jarrod did not succeed in his world record attempt, but he's learned a lot of lessons from that, and we basically just talk about what he's learned. We talk about what it means from going forward. We also compare it like how he's interpreted this journey to sort of video games and movies and things. He also talks about some of the other people who climbed Mount Kilimanjaro who've like inspired him in things, including like ultra marathon runners and philanthropists and other incredible people. And then the conversation comes to an end when Jarrod talks about his sort of mindset going forward, utilizing the Japanese term Kaizen, as well as some of the Wim Hof influences with breathing techniques and a lot of other things there. So part 1 was the journey, and part 2 is kind of like the epilogue on what he's learning going forward, which I think part 2 is equally as important and is incredibly inspiring hearing his more positive outlook on these things. So can't wait for you guys to tune into part 2 next week. But if you can't wait that long, and if you haven't already listened to it, obviously make sure you check out episode 104 with Jarrod Speed, because it was a really, really good conversation. So aside from that and telling you guys to, follow Jarrod on social media and check out his websites and etc., what have we got coming up? So next week, obviously, is going to be part 2, and on my Patreon, I'll be releasing another episode of Afterthoughts, because whenever I release part 1 and 2 on this feed, when part 1 drops here, I release both parts on my Patreon, and then when part 2 drops on this feed, then an extra bonus episode of Afterthoughts goes onto Patreon. So if you're worried about supporting me on the show and then on Sundays having nothing to listen to, fear not, you will always have additional things to listen to on that Sunday. But going forward, I've got an episode recording due next week with Chris Brayton of the I Like to Like Things podcast. I suspect that's going to be a long one. He's going to be talking about his weight loss journey, where he lost hundreds of pounds, and it's incredible. Honestly, it's so inspiring. So lots of inspirational things to kick off 2022. After that, I've got conversations due with a couple of authors that I've not had on the show before, so I'll wait until I've recorded the conversation with those before talking about who they are. I've also got a gentleman named Brad Sugars who should be returning on the show in sort of February time, and I had him on the show, I don't know, I think it's about 2 years ago now. He's a very successful entrepreneur and businessman, so looking forward to having another conversation with him there. I've got a few other things in the pipeline and stuff, but I'm not going to really delve into those until I've got either more concrete dates or other stuff like that. But for the time being, conversation with Chris Brayton and some of the other stuff I've got lined up should be sufficient. I have got a conversation hopefully due with someone who's one of the writers for certain video games, which I'm very excited about, and they seem very keen, but I'll go into that when I've got that recording under my belt within the next couple months. But aside from that, guys, I've already waffled on about Patreon and all the other stuff, so the only other thing really is to make sure you check out the show notes. I often get comments saying how in-depth my show notes are, and I do make an effort for them to be so, because I include my recent guest spots on there, so if you want to hear even more of my voice and you're up to date with Genuine Chit-Chat, you can hear my 20-minute conversation on the Beer Nuts Production podcast, you can hear me on the Talking Dad podcast, you can hear me on the Hall of Mirrors podcast, and if you want to hear loads of Star Wars stuff, I've been on the Star Wars Timeline YouTube show 4 times, so a link to the most recent 3 of those are in the description as well. And also, if you want even more Star Wars, you can check out my other show, Star Wars Comics in Canon. But I will also say that if you go over to my YouTube channel, which a link to that is in the description, it's just Genuine Chit-Chat, please subscribe if you can, because once we get past 100 subscribers, I can change the channel link, which is something I've been wanting to do for a while. Annoyingly, obviously, loads of you listen on the podcast apps and things, on Spotify and the other various places that people listen to my show, and I get quite a lot of traffic on my website, but it's just YouTube because it is primarily a video medium, and a lot of my conversations don't have video, that not a lot of people are subscribed on there, which is completely fine, I understand. If you do have a YouTube account and you are listening right now, please go over there and subscribe just so I can get those numbers up. But regarding Star Wars comics and canon, so I release episodes of Genuine Chit-Chat on my YouTube channel, as well as video versions of a lot of the conversations. This one, not specifically, because me and Jarrod did it in person. I didn't want to record video for that. But if you want some video conversations on there, some of the collaborations I've done are on there. But also all my episodes of Star Wars comics and canon are on my YouTube channel. But also I put things into playlists. So if you like world and exploration and those sort of conversations, similar to like this one with Jarrod Speed, there's a playlist for that. If you want to just hear science conversations, or ones just about movies, or that sort of stuff, or just ones about Star Wars that aren't in my Star Wars show, then there's loads of ways to listen and check out those playlists and stuff. But yeah, there's my Star Wars show, Star Wars Comics and Canon. It airs on the feed of Comics in Motion on podcast players or on my YouTube channel, as I just alluded to. And if you've never read a Star Wars comic in your life, or if you've read every Star Wars comic, there's a real reason to check it out. If you like the Star Wars movies, then that's a reason enough to check into my show, because I go through the plot details of the comics that I tackle, so you don't have to read them. But if you have already read them, then not only do you get a nice refresher, but I also talk about the many connections to other content, including certain species involved, planets, events that occur like concurrently, sort of in the issues I'm tackling, as well as other ones. The most recent stuff I've been doing is some High Republic things, so it's a really good way to get into the High Republic era without having to fork out loads of money for all the books and all the comics and etc. Or if you've already done all those things, it's sometimes good to get a refresher rather than having to read all those things and see some of the stuff that you may have missed. But a link to that's in the description as well. And yeah, as I said a minute ago, check out the show notes. But that's going to be it from me, guys. Thank you so much for listening, as always, especially up to this end part where I just ramble like a madman. And yeah, please consider checking out my Patreon. Please check out my other appearances on other people's shows. Rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, subscribe on YouTube, do all those lovely things, and I would appreciate them greatly. But that's it from me, guys. Thank you as always, and I'll talk to you guys next week with part 2 with my conversation with Jarrod Speed.
You have just experienced host, creator, everything elser of Genuine Chit-Chat, and also the host and creator of Star Wars Comics and Canon, found on the Comics in Motion podcast, Mike Burton.